Hello, my pretty awkward family. Welcome back to another Heart to Heart. This episode is coming off a weekend with my best friend. And so I am feeling kind of two things. I'm feeling very filled up and just like, I love my best friend and our just relationship and just really good friendships and having that quality time, but also really sad because I get like I cry pretty much every time she leaves. I'm like, no, my heart, a piece of my heart is not here. She doesn't live far. She lives in Southern California. So not very far, like in the LA area, and I'm in Vegas. So it's about a 4-hour drive. It's really not bad, but we try to see each other every like 3 months or so. And it's just exactly what I needed at this point in my life right now. And yeah, so I'm just coming off that. I literally just said goodbye to her and I was like, you know what? I want to get some podcasting done and I'm just feeling it. I have some things to talk to you about. So yeah, that's where I'm at. And just a reminder, like really nurture your great relationships. Like I need to remember that from time to time. I'm pretty good about that because it's such a priority for me. If I'm like, I feel like I'm a really great friend and I prioritize my friendships. And it's been something, especially the last few years, that I've really, really made a priority. So yeah, feeling really great. We had some afternoon tea yesterday, which was amazing. And these like little salmon sandwiches and these delicious like pastries. We had so much fun. We went makeup shopping. We watched Love is Blind. We were lazy. It was everything we needed and more. It was beautiful. And then we just had breakfast with her parents, me, Mike, and her two parents, who are just fabulous. They're like my second parents. I love them so much. And this is my best friend from college. We've been best friends since freshman year of college. And so it's a very special relationship that luckily just gets better and better as we age. And I know that's not always the case. I've had some friendships that have fizzled out in, the last 10, 12, 15 years because you change, you grow, you evolve, and sometimes you don't grow together. And I've just been so blessed that we've grown together, as have many of my friends from back in the day, which I'm very, very grateful for. So feeling the feels right now. But something I want to talk about today, and today's Heart to Heart, and I wrote this down the other day because I've been on a podcast tour and it's been absolutely incredible. And one of the topics that I've been getting asked to talk about a lot, because I give people, here are different topics that I feel very comfortable talking about. I feel like I'm an expert in or have a lot of experience in. And one of them is how to show up. Let me see how I phrased it. I have it written down. How to show up. Oh, I wrote shoe up. How to shoe up. How to show up when life is lifing. So that is a big topic. Like when life is happening, how do you show up consistently? How do you not like disappear from your business? And should you disappear, all these things. And I have been getting asked this so much. And so I've been really good at like sharing I have like 3 main things that are more strategic in how to show up. And I've talked about this before on this podcast, but after doing all these interviews, I was like, wait, I have like these 3 pretty solid like tactical things for you to do. They're simple, but I really want to give this to you because I've sprinkled it in here and there, but I've been on all these interviews. I'm like, wait, I need to share this with my people. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. And it's very timely because I have been having, a tough month and a half, 6 weeks. My dad has been in and out of the hospital. And the only people I've really talked to about this have been, as far as social media goes, has been the podcast. I shared the first time he was in the hospital, which was like beginning of February. I'm recording this on March 26th. And so beginning of February, and I shared that. And then he came home and then he went back, maybe 3 weeks later, something like that. And then he was home for a week and a half and then he went back in and he just got home from the hospital after being in there for a week yesterday. And so it's been a lot. It's been a lot. And during this time, I've been prepping a lot for my launch coming up, for the challenge, for, just a lot of content right now. We're in a building season and I have clients. Obviously I have a husband and a puppy, and my husband and I are trying to get pregnant. And so it's like, it's a busy season for me just without anything added, and add, the stressor of sick parent and taking care of them and being there for them and all of that. It's been a lot. Luckily, I have been pretty disciplined in my scheduling and all of that. And I am still prioritizing my workouts and my sleep as much as I can. And I've just honestly, the biggest thing that I haven't done is I haven't really read much. I did a little bit of reading yesterday, which was so amazing just to catch up on this. I'm reading Throne of Glass series right now from all my Sarah J. Maas fans. It's so good. And I just want to read it all day long. And I'm going through it so slowly because normally the time that I would spend doing that would be after work, and I would be relaxing and maybe take a bath and all that. And now, second I'm done working, I'm usually finishing a little earlier because of this. I'll head out to my dad's and visit and spend time and help him. And he's an accountant, so he's behind with the taxes. And so just helping him get organized and filing and all of that. And so it's been like work, go to dad's, work, go to dad's, work, go to dad's. It's been nonstop. And so I haven't had time to read, or, I've watched a little bit of fun TV. Yesterday, we watched Love is Blind because my best friend was visiting. So that was great. But besides that, I haven't. So that's really what's gone away, is just the more like relax, unwind stuff. It's been go, go, go. But I have been making sure this time period, I'm really prioritizing my workouts, my health, my sleep, walks with Luna. So I'm still doing all that. So I still feel very good, and I don't feel like burnt out or anything like that. But I will say yesterday, my friend and I just like vegged out for the morning, and we went to afternoon tea around like 1:30. But from the second I woke up around like Luna woke me up at like 6:30, I read, I journaled, and then we watched Love is Blind until like 1, from like 10 to 1. And it was wonderful. And I was like, gosh, I just needed to do nothing. Doing nothing sometimes is so wonderful. And so it was really great. And so it's been a lot. And, it's not just like the going back and forth. It's also the emotionality of it. It's my dad. I'm like, I'm so close to him. We have a very, very great relationship. And I'm it for him. He doesn't have any other kids. I have 3 siblings, but they're from my mom's first marriage. So it's been a lot, and it's just been emotionally, like I haven't really let myself feel until last week. And then I did. And luckily I have a great husband, great support system to help with all of that. And Mike's definitely helping out, of course. And so I don't feel alone in that way, but I'm his daughter. And so he leans on me for a lot of things. Even when there's other people there, he still leans on me for a lot of things. And so emotionally it's been up and down, and I was just like, I think this is a time better than ever to share the 3 things that have helped me in the past that I'm implementing myself right now. When life's happening, when life is lifing, and you're running a company, you're running a business, right? Maybe you're prepping for a launch, or if you're the breadwinner in your family and you have to bring home the income, or maybe you're in the beginning stages and you're building to a consistent income and you don't want that momentum to go. Life is never going to not life. You know what I mean? Like it's always going to. And if every single time something happens, we always have to take a step back, we have to ask ourselves, how can we change what we're doing so that we don't have to do that? Because every single time something happens, if you have to take a step back and you feel like you're going a few steps backward, it's like you're never going to get that forward momentum. And there is a way for you to have life happen, be there, be fully there for the life that you need to happen, and still move your business forward, right? And I always think of it as like, if I was going to take time off of work, if I had a 9-to-5 job for this thing, then that's different, right? But there's a lot of times, a lot of scenarios where life is lifing, and you still, if you had a 9-to-5 job, or maybe you have a 9-to-5 job, you still would have to show up. You still have to clock in and go to work. It's not a situation where you can like take off, right? If it was a situation which was really drastic where you would take off, that's different. Then same thing for your company, your business. And so we had life for us the last few years in such huge ways. And I did have some things set up, and I want to share that because I think it's helpful. And just even right now with everything with my dad, that we have some things set up that I feel very lucky, because I can still be there and do my thing, but not let it take over, and not be like, sorry guys, got to postpone the launch, got to postpone the challenge. I don't have to do any of that. And so I want to share why. So there's 3 main things, and these aren't like groundbreaking, life-changing things necessarily. We want it to be as simple as possible for you. Life is lifing. You need it to be simple. But these 3 things have really helped me over the last few years. And even when my husband and I were separated and life is lifing in a big way, and I wasn't sharing it with anyone, I wasn't sharing it with social media, I should say. I really use these 3, and it's what I've been talking about on all these podcasts that I've been interviewed on lately. So it's going to be preparing, repurposing, and how to tell your audience. So first, with preparing, I know this might seem obvious, but it is so wild how much we forget about this. So I have a lot of clients that I coach. I would actually say the majority of my clients, it's kind of funny because I'm not really like this, but I think because I have a very, I don't know what the word would be. If it's like, I come from a theater background, so I'm very open, I'm very creative, I'm very flowy, I'm very like welcoming. And I think I create this community that makes people feel very much they can be themselves. That's the whole purpose of my brand, right? And I tend to attract, I'd say like 75% of my clients are people who do their best work, have their best months, their best growth, all of that, when they are more last minute with things, and not to the point where like they're going to be irresponsible and not plan for their financial future. Not that, but like they really thrive and do their best work last minute. Like right the day before they need something, they get the slides done, or they get the post done, or the day of, or whatever. And they work really well when things are like downloaded in the moment. And that's a lot of my clients. And it's funny because for me, I actually work better when I still get the downloads and all of that, but I plan ahead. And I've always been like that. That's the thing, like when you're looking at your business and, if you take all these personality tests and the Enneagram, human design, all of that, you probably are getting to know yourself a little bit more. But I notice when I lean into who I naturally am, I do better. And I remember like the last few years, I've talked about this on another podcast episode. I tried to like not be that way. I was like, I need to be more like my friends and some of my clients who are very go with the flow in the moment, like something downloads and they just create it the next day. But that's just not who I naturally am. I like prepping. I like planning. I like being ahead of schedule. I like batching things and then being able to step away and it's already done. And I just can either have the team or me just press play on it. Like, I love that. That is like music to my ears. I was the type of kid in school when I was in college specifically, where I would have a test. Let's say it was on a Monday. I would, the 2 weeks before, be scheduling out my studying in chunks so that by the time the test came, I was ready to go. I never pulled all-nighters. I never studied the night before cramming ever. And then I would wake up the morning of really, really early and review everything. And so that's always how I've been. I've been very like chunks. And I just feel like that's when I do my best work. When I am last minute or things have to be put out the day of or whatever it is, I don't do great work, right? Whereas a lot of my clients and a lot of my friends, that's when they do their best work. And so it's important to like lean into your natural strengths, right? You want to lean into what's best for you. But I will say, even if you are that type of person who does your best work in the moment, et cetera, I think it is always a good idea to have some things pre-planned for lifing. And this is the point, right? If you leave every single thing up to the day before, et cetera, and life is lifing and you literally have zero energy and mental space and all of that, and you're like, I'm just not going to put out good work right now, then you just don't do the work and it doesn't go out. And it's not the end of the world, right? It's not. But if this is constantly happening, that's when you want to go, hey, is there any way I can still lean into my natural skill sets of last minuteness and like that being where I thrive, but also have some stuff pre-planned, right? Some of it. And that's what I'm talking about here. And so even during this really busy season with my dad and going back and forth and taking care of him and all of that, I've had a lot of stuff planned. Like all of my challenge slideshows are done. Like the main challenge portion, the main teaching portion has been done for a few weeks. And I'm just like perfecting the slideshow and sending it to my team and stuff like that. And that is stuff I could do the day before. Honestly, I won't because I don't want to. I want to get it done ahead of time, but like I could. The hardest part is already done. It's already done. Right. And so I like really recommend just going, how can I look 30 days ahead? I personally like doing like a 90-day at least. I like to look at the whole year, but things change so much in the year that I don't hold strong to that at all, but like the next 90 days and reverse engineer and go, what is my main focus for the next 90 days? Like, what am I selling? What are my goals? What kind of clients do I want to bring in? Where do I want to send people? And how can you reverse engineer what content needs to go out? What needs to get done? If you're creating a freebie, when you need to write the opt-in copy, when you need to write the nurture emails, whatever it is, right? And getting all of that down on paper and then scheduling it in. And that's what I personally have been doing. And so if life is lifing, okay, I'm actually ahead of the game because that thing doesn't have to come out for 2 weeks and I already got it done. I can just go be with my family and not worry about that right now. And honestly, this way has let me be able to do that. And again, I'm not saying change who you are, change your natural instincts. Most of my clients work best that last minute way. But if you can have some things planned ahead, even if it's just the plan, right? Maybe it's not like the content written or the opt-in page written or the emails written or whatever, but maybe it's just, okay, I at least have the direction. I know what's happening in the next month. Because so much of the stress that we have in business is lack of clarity or lack of direction. So if you at least have that down on lock, you're going to feel so much better about like taking a step back. Like I was able to like really be present with him and really take a step back even during this busy season, because I know exactly what we're doing. I know what I'm putting out this week, what I'm putting out next week, what I'm putting out the week after. I know every single thing I am putting out until pretty much, well, definitely the end of April, but honestly, even really through May, like I know what we're doing. And so I don't have to go, okay, I got to have all this brain space and this creative time to figure out what we're doing. I know what we're doing. And that is so helpful. It's such a load off my plate. So one is preparing as much as you can with your natural abilities, right? Your natural instincts where you thrive the most. The second thing that really has helped me in the last few years when life is lifing is repurposing. Man, we forget how much stuff you've created, right? Like I look back and I'm like, wow, I have years and years and years of content. And my new account, it's at The Pretty Awkward Entrepreneur, not Pretty Awkward, The Pretty Awkward Entrepreneur. I actually have another one that we probably should delete because I think people are tagging it by accident because you don't know, right? It looks the same. The Pretty Awkward Entrepreneur is the new business education account that we're literally taking old content from my Instagram from like years ago and updating it slightly, making it a little bit more with the times as far as trends and look and all of that goes. Because it's such great content and it still rings true. And I'll change some stuff. Like my team goes and they create it and then they send it to me for review. And then I'll tweak some things occasionally, but a lot of times I don't even need to, because so much of that, unless it's like a post that's a specific social media strategy that's changed, a lot of that still rings true. And so it's such good content. It's such good content. It was so valuable. I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot how great this stuff was. I spent a lot of time on this repurposing. Oh my gosh. Like, especially when life is lifing, right? And you can do this for both your stories and I'm talking to specifically Instagram, your stories and your feed posts. Like I've literally copied and pasted a post that I did last year onto my feed and it's done just as well. And same thing for stories. Go back in your archive and look and be like, where were some of these trainings that were really, really good? And you know what? I would be honest with it. I had a past mastermind client who did this a lot. I think she still does this, where a lot of weekends, she likes to be off. She likes to be with her family and just, be off work like a lot of us do, right? But she knows that that's like her highest engagement on her stories is her weekends. So she wants to be present as far as her business goes. And so she has her team repurpose old story trainings, like mini trainings, et cetera. And I honestly love that. I think that's so smart. And I'm pretty sure I think she does this. I'm not sure, but this is something I would probably do is I would say, again, she might do this. I'm not sure. I would say this is a repurposed training, or this is an old training that I did. It was my most liked ones. So here's what it's going to be about. And I would call it out. It'd be like this. I already did this. This is not me recording this today. This is me repurposing something. One, I think it's cool because it shows that you're off being with your family, prioritizing what you want to do and really being of value or I should say in integrity with your values, right? If you say you don't want to work weekends, if you say you don't want to be on all the time, then that's showing that you're not, right? But you're still able to provide value to your audience. And so I love that. I think that's really genius. So that's a way, and repurposing old content so that if life is lifing and something comes up and you're like, I don't want to disappear because I still want to give value to my audience, you can repurpose something. Remember that, like, people need to hear things so many times over and over and over again in order to take action or for it to sink in. So it is not redundant. I promise you, I promise you, I promise you. And along those same lines, before I get to the third one, I want to preface this by saying, this is my podcast, obviously, hello. And so I say that because this is my opinion. And I know for a fact that there are going to be people out there who don't agree with what I'm going to say. I know that, and that's fine, right? We all have our own opinions. That's the beauty of this world. We get to talk about why we have different opinions and see things from other perspectives and learn new things and grow, right? All of that beautiful stuff. So this is my personal experience and my personal opinion is I believe that I have built this community and this brand to the point I have because of how consistent I've been. I have built a brand that is reliable. My audience knows I will be showing up for them. They know every single week they're going to get 2 podcast episodes. They know that every single week they're going to get 2 emails. They know every single week they're going to get a few really, really great Instagram pieces of content, usually 5 days a week, sometimes 3, sometimes 4, but they know that I'm going to be showing up consistently there. They know pretty much 5 days a week, I'm going to be active on stories, giving them something behind the scenes, etc. Right. I've been so consistent with my content, the platforms I've chosen to be on gradually, right? In the beginning, it was just my Facebook personal page. Literally, that's all I used. Then it was Instagram. Then it was email. Then it was a podcast. Then it was a Facebook group. And so we slowly added, right? And sometimes we got rid of, I don't post on my personal Facebook page anymore, ever. It's like ever. It's sometimes, and it'll be a family thing. Now it's just really for the personal life. And even then I just don't use it. So you can retire some things, obviously. But I say that because I get this question a lot. It's like, I've had the opportunity to disappear, so to speak, as far as selling, right? Or totally change things and come back and be able to sell relatively easy, like definitely guarantee sales because of all the years of community building I've done, of brand building I've done. And a huge reason is I've been so consistent, and I've been an account that people can rely on. They know I'm going to show up. They know that if they need to pick me up, if they need some business advice, if they need some really good content that's going to just help move their business forward and just make them feel like they can be themselves online, they know they can rely on me. And I really take that so seriously. I take that so to heart, and I don't take that for granted. And so this third piece of advice is not going to be for everyone, but it was for me. And I know it is for a lot of my people. I believe that your audience does deserve to know, how do I put this? So obviously it's not that it's a sensitive subject. I just want to phrase this the right way. You know that phrase, you don't owe your audience anything, right? I do believe that in certain ways, right? Like, for example, I don't need to tell you the details of everything. I did not need to tell you that I was separated. I didn't need to tell you about my miscarriage. I didn't need to tell you any of that. I don't owe my audience those specifics, right? But if I have built this trust with my audience that they can count on me, and they know I'm going to be there, and they're financially investing in me because of that, right? That's a huge exchange. People invest in me because of how much value I give them for free. Then they invest their hard-earned money into my programs. And so when I have built that, and I really take that, so I treat my audience like they're a really great friend of mine. When life's happening, I'm not just going to ghost my friend. My best friend just left. This is a prime example. I'm not just going to ghost her. I'm going to say, hey, stuff is going on. I might be a little quiet for a while because life is happening. And I might not give her the specifics if I'm not ready, or I might. For her, I always give her the specifics. But she's a really good friend. She's my best friend. Why would I just ignore her? Because the whole point of our relationship is that we know we can depend on each other. And that counts when I have to say, hey, I need space because I'm going through it and I'm not talking to anyone and I need to just be in a bubble. And she'll so respect that. She'll go, good. I want to make sure you're okay. Now I know you're going to disappear for a bit, but it's because you're processing or you're grieving or whatever it is. I just need to know you're okay. Right. And that's just a respect thing, just like she would do for me. And that's how I look at my audience. I look at my audience as a really good friend who I've built this beautiful relationship with. And if I just ghost them and leave them in the lurch for months and months, I just don't feel right about that, and this is where people are going to disagree. And I know people who disagree because I've seen it. I've seen people disappear with no explanation and come back and share why. And their audience is so supportive of them. And I'm not saying your audience won't be. I could probably disappear, come back, explain, and my audience would be totally understanding, like more than understanding. So I'm not saying that's wrong. It's just not how I personally would want to operate. And so this third, I'm finally getting to the third, I keep saying this, the third piece of advice that I, again, from my experience of having life many, many times in the last few years and still building and sustaining this company, is I tell my audience when something is happening. And I will use this example of last year. Last year, when we had the miscarriage, we found out May, I'm forgetting the exact date, but it was end of May. It was right before I had a VIP day, actually in person. It was maybe it was mid-May. It was mid-May, I think. And that happened we found out on a Friday. And I was supposed to go into a push, I should say, not a launch, for my SOSA program. It was an evergreen program, and we were doing a push for it. We were doing a special. And I was going into that, and I was making a big deal of it, and people knew it was coming, and getting ready and all of that stuff. There was going to be a bonus and a special and all this stuff. And so that was already planned. And I basically said to my audience, hey, we're going through a tough time. We just found out some news, and I'm not going to give details. I don't feel ready to. But I want to just tell you, I'm going to push my special for a few weeks. And I just thank you for giving me this space, and send us your prayers and your love. And we will be back to regularly scheduled programming. Podcast episode's still coming out next week. It's already recorded, already out there for you. But I might be a little bit quiet on stories, right? They still got the email for the week. They still got the podcast episode. I think I took 2 weeks kind of off. But I had that stuff prepped. So that goes back to number one, prep, right? Always a little bit ahead for those reasons. And then I kind of disappeared from stories, not fully though, because what I personally found was after like 48 hours, not even, it was like more like 24 to 36 hours of just grieving and crying and just like being, I needed to get out of the house. I needed to put my energy into something. And it wasn't escapism, because I was dealing with my feelings. In therapy, in relationship coaching, I'm getting all the help. Trust me. I do not shy away from that stuff. But in addition to that, I was like, I don't want to just like sit here and think about it 24/7. I'm processing. I want to put my energy and my thoughts into something productive. I'm so grateful for my business. And for me, it actually fueled me. And I didn't look at my business as this thing I had to show up for, because I actually wasn't really on stories much. I was doing behind the scenes stuff. And that's what I put my energy into. And I was so grateful for my business at that time. So grateful. And I didn't end up telling my audience what happened until about 2 months later. I think it was like mid-July that I ended up sharing. I have to go back and check. It might have been a little bit earlier, but it was roughly, let's say 1 to 2 months, something like that. And I was comfortable sharing the specifics, because I knew 1 in 4 women experience miscarriage. I knew my audience would be like, oh my gosh, I'm here for you. Me too. I've experienced this. And this is something that I will say is, that's what I don't think you owe your audience. I don't think you owe your audience specific details about your private life that you don't want to give them. You don't. I happen to feel really comfortable doing that. And I've built this personal brand that's really based on, I don't want to say influencer like, but it's like, I take you along for the journey of my life. You've gotten to know my husband, my dog, like, my nieces and nephews sometimes. Like, I like that. I like that relationship I have with you. And I like that I feel like I want to tell you everything. Now, some things obviously we're going to keep private, but Mike and I talked about this a ton, and I've said, hey, are you comfortable with me sharing this and all this? And he's like, yeah, we're an open book. We have nothing to hide. And it's not like, again, it's not because we want to share everything we feel obligated to. It's not. It's because when I know my pain or my grief or my experience or my lessons can be helpful to even one other person, and I am comfortable sharing, I feel like it's my duty to share, because the majority of the world isn't going to be comfortable sharing, and understandably. But I really feel like one of my big purposes here on this earth, on this planet, in this lifetime, is to share my experiences. I know that. I know without a shadow of a doubt, one of the reasons I am on this earth is to share my experiences and help people through them, and help them feel normal, and help them feel like they're not alone. I have no doubt that's a huge reason I'm here. And I feel that so fully with my marriage. And that's why we are creating a whole other brand with that. I feel that so fully with my business, which is why I have these heart to hearts. And I like to share when like life is just hard and business is hard. And I'm like, hey, here's the not pretty things that happened this week. And here's the highlights and the not highlights, right? I know that that's a huge reason people are attracted to my brand, is because of the honesty, and is because of like, hey, we're going to just take the veil off. We're going to really show you what's going on here. And I really like that. But one thing that I'm personally a big fan of is sharing after I've personally processed. And so for me to share in that moment, right when it happened, or even a week after my miscarriage happened, I was still so in it, and I wasn't able to see the bright side. I wasn't able to see like the purpose or the reason or any of that. And I always try to find a reason. I always try to find not the toxic positivity, because it's freaking sucked, but the okay, I can see other things that lined up because this happened, right? And for us, there were so many things that came after that miscarriage that wouldn't have come to fruition if that experience didn't happen that we needed to happen. So in that moment, I wasn't able to. And so that's why I'm a really big fan of sharing the details, if I do, after I've processed. So that whole, and I feel like I say this every episode, but share from the scar, not the wound, right? And that's why it took me about 2 months. Me and Mike, we were back together for almost a year and a half before we shared. That's a long time, right? And so when I say I share details, I do, but I don't share right away. I give myself the time to process, because if I don't, I might be really triggered by comments and by what people are saying and advice when I don't want advice in the moment, right? I'm like, I don't want advice. I want you to just like be there for me. And I have one of my really, really close friends and clients. She's going through it in her marriage, and she made a whole podcast episode about it. So this is not like this isn't a secret. And she is sharing a little bit more in the moment, but even her, they've been going through it for a while. It's in the moment, but it's not, because they've really been at it for a while. And she's sharing to, again, help someone else. And I messaged her. I was like, I'm so proud of you, because as someone who has shared very similar things to what you're sharing now, I know how hard that is. And do you know how many people you're helping right now? I am so proud of her. And one of the things she said was, we are kind of going through it. You're kind of going to be going through it with us in a sense. So please don't message me advice or things you think I should do. Right. Because I don't want that. I'm just sharing this for hopefully to help someone or to process or whatever. So if you are in that, where you are going to share a little bit more in the moment, just tell your audience how you want them to react. Right. Because it could be really tough if you're receiving all these messages and you're already dealing with this and you're already processing and you're like, I don't want people to tell me what I should be doing. It's too much, so just be careful with that. But that's something that and I'm going to give you kind of some phrasing that I use, but I really recommend is, if life is lifing and you don't want to share the details now or ever, because again, you don't need to, I personally would just say, hey, we're going through a little bit of a tough time right now. We've got some stuff happening in my personal life, and I've got to deal with that. That comes first, right? That's my value. My value is life first, business second. And so here's what's going on. I am going to push I'm phrasing this as I would have done, and I think I did last year. I'm going to push this, this special a couple weeks, and it's going to be up and it's going to be just extended. So it's just more time for you to make that decision, which is great. Here's what it's going to be. I'm going to give them the new dates, give them the new details. And here's what you can expect in the next few weeks. The podcast episode will still come out. The email will still come out. And that's about it. And so I thank you so much. Send me your prayers, send me your love. We're just going to really work on ourselves and do what we need to do in the next few weeks to really come back strong. And I will eventually share the details if and when I'm ready. And I just so appreciate you sending the love. And then that was it. And that wasn't exactly what I said, but that's what I would say today. I got so much love from that. So much love, so much respect. And I just loved that. I was like, oh, my heart needed this. I needed this love right now. And it was really beautiful. And so I'm really glad I did that, because it gave me this permission slip to step back. Now, you don't need a permission slip. It's your business. You get to make any decision you want, obviously. But again, I have built this really beautiful relationship with my audience. I feel like my audience is a really trusted, good friend that I don't want to ghost. I want to be honest and say, hey, this is what's happening. I might disappear, but I'm going to tell you about it. And it's okay. I'm okay. Well, I'm not okay, but I need to go process so I can get okay. And I need to deal with my feelings and work through them and not try to escape them through work, right? I think it's actually showing that you have a healthy relationship with your work and you're prioritizing what you need to in your personal life. And you're just being honest about it. And for me, man, that gave me so much space. It was like, such a big sigh of relief. I felt like I had such a weight off my shoulder and I could just be and do what I needed to and work on things behind the scenes when I got my energy back and I wanted to put it into something and not just sit there and be sad. And it was actually a really beautiful experience in that way. And then when I came back and I started, I just came back and I didn't do this whole I'm back thing. I didn't announce that I was back because I had already said, hey, I'm going to take a step back and then we're just going to be resuming as normal. And I didn't make it a big deal of it. And we just kept going as normal. And then a few weeks later, or no, it was like a few months later, I shared the details. And again, that's the part that you don't need to do. You could just go back and then regularly schedule programming. And you don't need to ever share those specifics if you don't want to. For me, it was important and it connected me with so much of my audience. And for me personally, it was very selfishly amazing because the pregnancy that I had last year was a complete molar pregnancy, which is very rare. And it's like 1 out of 1,000 women have it. And I found those people. But the reel that I made about it went viral. It had like over 3 million views. And it found these women. I had about 20 to 25 women message me privately, in addition to the hundreds of comments I got, who specifically had this same exact pregnancy. And most of them, unless they just had it happen very recently, like I had, they went on to have healthy kids and healthy babies. And it was so, I remember reading this and just bawling my eyes out and showing Mike and being like, oh my gosh, look at all these women who had the same exact thing. And then they went on to have kids. And I was just like I'm getting teary, like thinking about this right now, because it gave me so much hope. Because like the doctors can tell you and all of that, but it's like, you just feel alone, especially my doctor is a man and like, he's great and he was amazing, but I'm like, you don't know what I'm going through. You know what I mean? And so it just felt so amazing to have these women come out of the woodwork to be like, I've literally been through exactly what you did. And I went on to have a beautiful, healthy baby or 2 or 3 or whatever. And it was so uplifting and it was exactly what I needed. So I personally was so glad that I made that. I was like, I was meant to, the universe was like, you need to make this. And I felt it in my heart. I was like, I know I have to make this. I need to share this so that other women don't feel alone. But I also feel like I need to not feel alone. And man, it just found my people. And it was amazing. It was so amazing. And I'm just so grateful that I did that. And so I knew and I trusted my gut. And so I really recommend you do the same. There's going to be moments where in your life, when life is lifing, that you're going to ask your gut and you're going to be like, I don't think I want to share the details ever. And that's okay. And we're not going to, or at least if it changes down the line, maybe. And then there's going to be moments where, like this situation with me, I was ready and I was ready rather soon. I didn't know if I'd be ready that quickly. And, with between a month and 2 months, I was like, oh, I feel really ready to share this. I feel like this is the time. And then you might be like, yes, my gut is telling me I want to share this. And always ask why. Always ask what's the intention, what's the purpose, right? And for me, I was like, I know I need to connect with other women who've gone through this, and I need to find the women who've gone through this for myself. And so that was my intention. And man, it was a slam dunk. I really did find the people, and it helped me so much. It helped me heal so much. It was kind of wild. And so you just got to know yourself. You got to trust yourself. I know that's easier said than done. Trusting yourself is really hard, especially in business. We just think we need a blueprint and we need to just follow it and copy paste and all should be well. And, the reason I made such a big deal of this is my podcast, in my opinion, is you will probably hear someone say completely the opposite. You will hear someone say, you don't need to announce anything. You shouldn't tell anyone any details ever. You should just go do your thing, disappear, and make a big deal when you come back. I literally have seen people give the opposite advice than what I'm giving. And so that's why you have to trust yourself, because they're not wrong and I'm not wrong. They're not right and I'm not right. It just is. It's just 2 different perspectives, 2 different ways of approaching when life is lifing. But I got to say, I've been through a lot, as have a lot of my clients. And this 3-pronged approach to life is lifing and showing up when life is lifing has really helped. Having things prepped, repurposing, and telling your audience something is going on to give you that space, to give you that breather. Because again, at the end of the day, I have worked so hard to build this community. I've worked so hard to build this platform and this audience and this brand. And I don't want it to all go away. And not that it would never go all away, even if I did take a break. Like, I know that, but I feel like I do owe it to my audience to say, hey, I'm taking a step back for a second because life is lifing, and they're going to respect that and send me all this love. And I want that from them. Again, I treat you like a good friend that can trust me, can rely on me to be there, can rely on me to show up with incredible value every single week. And where I will show up, right? And I don't want that to go away. I don't. And I don't think that makes me workaholic or chained to my work. I think that makes me care about my audience and value that. And it doesn't take that much work to do that. That's the thing, like prepping these little things or sharing that something's happening. That took me 1 email one story share and one post. That was it. I literally made one post saying life is lifing. I can actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back and find that post and I'm going to link it in the show notes for you. Because I did make a post. I shared on my stories and I sent an email out. And I literally copied paste. The same post was the same email with the same stories. And took me no time at all, yet it helped me so much. So this is my personal recommendation. I hope that it resonated with you. I'd love to hear if you have anything else to add that's worked for you, because I know I'm not the only one who's had to, do all this with Life is Life. Pretty much everyone here listening probably has. So please, if you have something else to add to this, DM me at Megan Yelaney on Instagram. I would love to know. I genuinely would love to know, because I want to share this with my audience. Of course, I will never share any identifying information. I'll take out your picture and your handle, of course. But I really want the other people to have this. I think it's so important. So thank you in advance for sharing that and just sharing this episode. You know how much it means to me. So I love you and I just appreciate you. And I hope this heart to heart got you in the heart. And I'll see you in the next episode.